A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Before I begin, I just want to thank our dear brother Hassan. I think this is a very beautiful idea that he's put together. And particularly, it gives me a lot of joy to come and sit with all these different organizations and different people in our community. And this is something that we do at Risala Foundation, is try to build ties between different organizations. So I appreciate that very much. As my name's Omar Khwaja. I'm a co-founder at Risala Foundation. As the brother mentioned, my background is that I'm an attorney. I'm a prosecutor in Fort Bend County. Prior to that, I was before I went to law school, I was a legislative assistant for a member of Congress on Capitol Hill. And so I spent about 6 years in DC and learned a lot while I was there, particularly working in Congress. And so today I just wanted to share some thoughts with you that I've had while working for the community and based on sort of my experiences. You know, while I was in DC, I had the opportunity to sort of interact with a lot of different faith communities and ethnic communities. And I really got to see, you know, as a member of Congress working on legislative issues, a lot of communities approached the member I worked for, and they wanted to lobby on issues that were important to them. So I got to see communities that were, you know, very sort of organized, had their act together, had specific issues that they wanted to address, and you know, many of the times they got those issues answered. And then I got to see less sophisticated communities, and unfortunately some of those turned out to be our communities, ethnic and Muslim community. But alhamdulillah, you know, we've come a long way since 2002 when I started in Congress. But one striking similarity I found in all the communities that were very successful was that they placed a very high premium on the idea or the concept of mentorship. And not just limited to youth mentorship, but that was obviously very, very important because that's investing in the future. But mentorship in general. They mentored the adults in their community, and they certainly mentored the youth in the community. And just a quick example of that is, I'm sure we've heard this name recently in the news. There's a billionaire by the name of Sheldon Anderson. He's supporting a person running for president right now, Newt Gingrich, who I hope won't be elected. But Mr. Anderson has invested in the course of his life over $100 million. He's a hotel magnate, casino magnate, but $100 million he has put into a program called Birthright Israel. And this is a program that basically brings you know, Jewish youth from all over the country to Israel to sort of nurture their ties and increase their understanding of their you know, religion and their ethnic community. And you know, that's one of, you know, I interacted with people like Mr. Anderson while I was on the Hill, but that's one of many programs that particular community has for their youth. And so that's just something I want you to keep in mind as I go through this. So what is mentorship? I'm sure everybody knows that mentorship, it's a personal developmental relationship between someone who's more experienced with someone who's less experienced. The mentor is called, the person who is receiving the mentorship is typically called a protege or mentee, and the person who is giving it is the mentor. Now, it's sort of textbook, it's informal transmission of knowledge, social capital, psychosocial support perceived by the recipient as relevant to their work, career, or professional development. And mentoring entails informal communication, usually face-to-face and during a sustained period of time. And obviously mentorship has many practical applications in the community, and for the youth, mentorship is something that can be used to enhance their academic career. Certainly their on social issues, which are very important, which I'm going to discuss, mentorship is key, and as well as spiritual issues. And for adults, it can help with career and educational development and also spiritual issues as well. So it has many practical applications. It's very important to communities. And particularly, there's a historical importance in our tradition as Muslims when it comes to mentorship. Traditionally, there's been a very strong focus on mentorship in Islam. And I'll give you a quick example. In one career, as a professor, and we're in a university, as a professor, there's a chair of a department. And Islamically, that was referred to as the kursi, and the departmental chair actually comes from that word, kursi. And what is the role of the department chair? He mentors professors underneath him who then sort of teach the students. He's the ultimate person responsible for the curriculum. He approves it, which is then taught by the professors. So very fundamental concept in Islam, mentorship, and it's something that is certainly used a lot in academic institutions in America and in the West in general. Furthermore, the sheikh-student relationship, also very fundamental to Islam, going back to the Prophet ﷺ. And he taught the Sahaba, radiallahu anhum, and they taught the Tabi'in, and so on and so forth. And so each generation taught the subsequent generation. And of course, in Surah Nahl in the Quran, verse 43, it says, "Ask those who recall if you know not," which clearly establishes that there should be a category of people who we learn from. Now, what I've seen, I think, in sort of a modern phenomenon, and Houston in particularly, where I spend my time, is that this idea of mentorship has been sort of replaced. And it's been replaced by a concept of sort of individualism to the extreme. For example, nowadays, if you ask some of our youth, where they go for an answer, what are you going to hear? You're going to hear Google it. People are going to Facebook, Twitter, and our sort of social interactions have been reduced to media or social media interactions. And I think, unfortunately, in my estimation, mentorship has really been lacking in our community. It's not something that we've been investing in. And this lack of mentorship, this lack of leadership in our community has really led to a lot of divisions in our community. And I know that's a sort of somewhat of a sensitive subject, but people, before they speak to someone now, they want to know their madhab. They want to know which masjid they pray at. They want to know who they talk to. So what people now what they want to do is just pick up a book and get all their knowledge from the books. And I think that's problematic. It has led to, I think, alienation of our youth in the mosques. It has led to basically leaving a lot of our youth sort of wandering around aimlessly. And let me be very clear as well. As a prosecutor, I get to see many youth, particularly from our community, which is very unfortunate, entering into my court on various issues, whether it's drug abuse or domestic violence or alcohol problems. And let me assure you that it's a real problem in our community, and it's something we need to start addressing. Now, I wanted to give a quick anecdote from a personal experience I had with a brother. And I think this sort of will give you an example on what's needed in our community. But there's a brother I know, I'm just going to call him Zaid. He's a University of Michigan graduate. Very smart brother. He was top 10% of his class, 3.6 GPA. He was, he had a major in Middle Eastern studies. I think his background was Arabic. And he's the type of brother that, when he's around youth, they flock to him. Very charismatic, very intelligent, and just generally all around the kind of person you want to be around. And, Zaid had basically every opportunity to sort of go on and do whatever he wanted to after receiving his undergraduate studies, but he chose to dedicate his time in service of the Muslim community. So he worked with an institute that did Arabic language development and curriculum, and they replicated that and sort of work in different cities throughout the country. It was a fellowship that he was doing. So I met him around that time, sort of got to know him better. And he basically told me, he was like, Omar, I've been doing this for a little while. I need a job now, and I'd like to work for the Muslim community. Can you place me in a community that could utilize my services and my experience? And I was very, first of all, I was gratified that he was asking me for help for something like this, because he's someone I respect a lot. But I made every opportunity I could to sort of reach out to different communities and see if I could get this brother, sort of keep him in, now that he's sort of coming to the Muslim community to work, keep him in our community and work for our community. And, I made some phone calls, and I got him an interview or two. I even had one in Houston for him. And unfortunately, the people he had interviewed with just didn't understand the value of someone like Zaid in our community that could sort of help become sort of program development or academic coordinator or even a youth coordinator of some type at our masjid or executive in terms of executive committee membership. And he ended up going back to the private sector, and so now he's sort of doing sort of working part-time, servicing the community that way, which is great. We need people like him, but I felt like it was a real loss that we couldn't keep him in our community working for us. And so that's what I think that our community leaders, some of whom are here, really need to consider. We need to start investing in our future. Some solutions, and I'm getting the walk. At Risala Foundation, we bring a lot of national level speakers to the community, and I think we really need to look at programs that are done by other faith-based communities in the city. There are many here that we could replicate, and inshallah, we will be able to achieve that. Thank you very much.